We'll see what happens. I think the fact that it took this long should tell you a lot, but who knows? Maybe he wrecks this league after all. I don't know, man. I mean, all you can do is find out. We'll talk about it. Right now, though, let's talk a little hockey, a little Monsters hockey, a little more than just Monsters hockey. How about an ear getting ripped off and the guy kept playing last night? I'm going to talk about all of that and more with my man Doug Plagans from the Lake Erie Monsters coming on the show right now. Doug, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Hey, I'm fantastic, and a whole lot going on. As we said, timing is everything, but for people going, what did he just say about an ear before we even talk Monsters, Johnny Football, any of that stuff? Did you get a chance to see? I just saw this right before we went on the air and said, I got to talk about this with Doug. In the Rangers game, Kevin Klein gets part of his ear ripped, has it sewn back on, and continues to play in the game. That's a tough man right there.
Hey, well, you don't use your ear to shoot the puck, right?
What's up?
I said you don't use your ear to shoot the puck. You can move along.
No, absolutely,
without that.
Man. You know, people already know that a hockey player. I was going to say football. No, this is another level of tough. People already know that hockey players are tough. But I mean, I'm all about it. As a pro wrestler, you guys got to understand. I've gone to the back, super glued something together, and continued the match that I was in. So, and the thing that I super glued was in my head. So I can dig doing what you got to do to get back out there on the field, the ice, the court, whatever it is. My man went back and said, sew it up. You know, I ain't got time to bleed, like Jesse Ventura said in the Predator. I ain't got time to bleed. My man said, I ain't got time to be missing an ear. Put that thing back on. I got hockey to play.
And I've got I actually have the article pulled up right now. He scored the overtime winner too, which adds to the story.
On top of that,
it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. I think. I mean, you see it time and time again. You always hear these stories, and you know what? The funny thing is, I feel like sometimes it creates debate because the people who don't follow hockey think that the grassroots hockey fans like to throw this stuff out there just to prove a point. And, the hockey fans, but hockey fans embrace this stuff. And I mean, I can tell you firsthand, I've been in pro hockey now for 7 years as a broadcaster, and just to see what these guys go through each and every day. And I'm not talking about guys getting their ears ripped off, but just the sheer duress that you experience going through this, the bus rides, 3 games in 3 nights, just the sheer toughness that these guys display in order to try to get to the top of their profession is second to none that I've ever seen. And the fact that they do it all with a smile on their face and with good spirits and with just the utmost professionalism. And you can say that just across the board. It's just it's a great sport. It brings out the best in a lot of guys, and sometimes bringing out the best in a guy is having him finish the game, get the overtime winner, missing part of his ear.
Absolutely, and it's definitely part of the legend, and gotta love it, Doug, as we roll out. By the way, you guys, you can't call, but you can keep the conversation with us. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. And quickly, since we were talking about it before you came on, before we get into the Monsters in the week that was, is they're on a bit of a run, but Johnny Football, obviously, during the break, we were talking about it here, as all the news is still starting to... Even though the Browns haven't made it official, I got a text from Berea about a half an hour ago that said, it's going down. So what are your thoughts? Obviously, whatever on the football field will show itself, but there is a lot of part of the fan base that's been waiting to see what they do have, whether it is hype or whether it's real. And I think it does roll into that, as we talked about, the fresh excitement around Cleveland sports, and the circumstances may not have been what you wanted for it to play out this way. You'd have liked for it to have played out the way it was going, but it didn't. So what are your thoughts here on the move the Browns apparently have made and the Johnny Football era? Do you think he can do it in the NFL? Are you a Johnny Football guy?
Well, I mean, if this is indeed the case, and just from the casual observer's opinion, number one, I think they handled it the right way the whole way by not, falling victim to some knee-jerk reaction and pulling Brian Hoyer too early. Because let's not forget 2 things: the teams had a winning record, and they did it with that guy at quarterback. And it doesn't matter how you're doing it; it's the fact that you're getting those wins. Something's going well. And then also, people like to like to jump to conclusions, but the coaches are the ones who are out there in practice every day, and you got to trust those guys. They're the ones watching everything. So, those guys are getting their livelihoods are, wins and losses, and they're going to do what they think is best for the team to get a W on a Sunday. So I think they handle it the best way possible the whole way. But at the same time, a couple consecutive losses, heartbreaking fashion. The playoff hopes not what they maybe were a few weeks ago. I think if you're going to make that change and look for a spark, there might not be a better guy in football right now to bring off the bench for a spark than Johnny Football.
Were you into him as a college guy? I mean, everybody saw the highlights and the different reels. Were you into him? Do you think his game translates to the NFL?
I historically, as a football fan, the quarterbacks I like are Andrew Luck type guys. I like a 6'5", 230-pound drop back and gun it. Those are the guys that I like. Those are the guys I like watching. I thought he was exciting to watch. At the same time, if I were constructing my ideal quarterback, it would be your prototypical, like I said, 6'4", 6'5" drop back guy.
I'm with you. If I don't mind if a guy can scramble if he's built like Ben Roethlisberger. If you're a linebacker and then you run around, well, at least I know that you can protect yourself and the other guy's in as much danger from getting hit as you are. But I'm with you there. That being said, last night it was funny. I pulled up one of the videos on YouTube. It was every one of Johnny's college touchdowns. They put them all together, and it was one right after another. And I'm watching it, and it's just what, because you forget. We haven't watched him play since they got drafted. I haven't been watching a whole lot of Manziel clips. I watch it, and I go, yep, it's exactly what it was when they drafted him. Some of these plays, you go, damn. And then some of them, you go, not a chance in the world that you're going to get away with anything close to that in the NFL. So it's going to be interesting to see how it actually plays out,
No, it's elementary to say, but now everybody's as fast as him. So,
yes.
Some of the stuff he got away with at Texas A&M is not going to work.
I watched one last night where it was a Tecmo Bowl play. He does a whole circle in the backfield and then a second one around, and I'm like, no, dude, 8 people tackle you at that point. But some of the other ones, you go, man, hey, now he can make that play in the NFL, so it will be very interesting to see. The Browns had to do something no matter who was coming, whether it was Manziel, whether it was Connor Shaw. Clearly they felt that they needed a spark. And as you said, there will at least be that. The buzz in the stadium this Sunday.
And what everybody can't forget is that the guy is a rookie. So all the everybody who's wanted to see him play, and there are a lot of people who wanted to see him play because it's there's no doubt he's going to do some exciting things. You can't be all over the guy the first time he makes a mistake because, one, rookies make mistakes, and two, guys who play that style eventually make mistakes. You can't play a perfect game when you play a rather erratic, not necessarily methodical game of quarterback.
Yeah, a riskier style, you're going to have that. And that's one of the things that worried me the most is I don't think people are giving you that. So many people think that, I'm looking in our chat room right here, and there's people that think he's going to put the cape on and save the day, and that's not fair to him. We've said that all season long, too. For those of you that don't like him or do like him, he'll play that out on the field. But that's also an unfair position. You can't deal with it. I mean, it's the expectations, but you got to keep that in mind. I'm excited to see what happens because it's something that people have been speculating about, and you never know until you see it get out there on the field. So at least put a little bit of jazz, and Marvin Lewis, he added a little bit of jazz to that too last night as well, calling Johnny a midget there, man. You know a bit about bulletin board material. I was a bit surprised about that one, man. I thought a veteran coach would know better, unless he just really didn't think the Browns were going to make the switch. I don't know. Maybe he was tipping a few back when he did his radio appearance last night and then said, man, did I really just say that on the air? But
I didn't know anything about that. I wasn't paying attention to that.
Yeah, Marvin Lewis was on the radio last night in Cincy, And they asked him about the game, and he said, well, we're preparing for Hoyer. We've got to assume that he's the quarterback. And then when they said, well, what about Manziel? Do you game plan for him? Marvin Lewis said, well, no, you don't game plan for him. You game plan for the team, but you especially don't game plan for a player that's a midget. And that's exactly what he said about Manziel last night on the radio during his coach's appearance on one of the AM stations down in Cincinnati. So very quickly, the Bengals apologized for it. But, yeah, not too often that an opposing coach just blatantly pours gasoline on the fire like that.
No, that's not usually the way you go about things, but I guess we'll see how it plays out.
Interesting, man. All right, man. Let's talk about hockey since that's what you do, man. The Monsters, what they do is win some games lately, 4 in a row. They've gotten points in most of the games here for the last week and a half. They've gotten on a run, wrapped it up with an overtime victory against Rockford on the road Sunday. Won both of those games that we previewed last week against Chicago as well. They've got points in, 6 straight here and 7 of 8, and the Monsters really beginning to find a groove here.
They are finding the groove, and there are a lot of guys playing very well right now, and that game in Rockford was a good one to get. The Monsters had lost their last 2 games against Rockford this season going up into that game, and so they got it 4-3 in overtime, kept the win streak going 4 straight. They've got points in 6 straight, as you mentioned, really starting to chip away and climb that ladder in the Western Conference. As things are always changing, you look at the game on Sunday, the overtime win in Rockford. Paul Carey scored twice in that game. Yesterday, he gets called up to the National Hockey League. Calvin Pickard has won 3 straight starts in net, playing some of the best hockey he's played since he's been with the Monsters. And then yesterday, gets called back to the National Hockey League because of an injury to Semyon Varlamov. So a little bit of shuffling, and that's just kind of the name of the game here in the AHL, and it's how you can keep things rolling along when you get that momentum. And with guys getting called up, key contributors, there's no doubt that those are players that are going to be missed from the lineup. But at the same time, when you're playing like this, you have to think that everybody's more confident, and it makes that blow more sustainable.
Absolutely. Talking to Doug Plakins, voice of the Monsters here, about that game over the weekend. Talked about that's 4 straight now for them and beginning to find a groove. As I look at the standings here, Monsters keep chipping their way up as now they've closed that gap. We talked about getting those teams that are between you and where you want to, even though it's early, the more you minimize opportunities to control your own destiny and maximize those, the better you are. Monsters continue to take advantage of that here in these games coming up as they've got another key stretch. You and I talked about it looking ahead a little bit last week. You've got 3 games in 4 days here coming up this week, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and you've got Grand Rapids again, and you've got 2 with Rockford coming up. So it's important that you continue to build on what you've been growing here for the last 2 weeks.
You've got to, Grand Rapids seems like I probably should have gotten a timeshare up here in Grand Rapids. We're here again. The team's out on the ice practicing right now.
All year.
The two teams will meet for the 7th time already this season tomorrow, and they're dead even so far. The Monsters are 3-3 against Grand Rapids on the campaign, so we'll see them tomorrow. It's going to be back home for a day to regroup, and then you've got a pair against Rockford, who's going to be coming in with a chip on their shoulders, having just lost to the Monsters back on Sunday, and they still sit, up near the top of the Western Conference. So they're a team that's been tough on just about everybody this year. So the Rockford Ice Hogs coming in on the weekend, and then after that, the stretch gets the Midwest Division continues with a couple against Milwaukee, and then another one against Grand Rapids. That'll be the 8th game between the Monsters and Griffins before Christmas, but that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. After these couple with Grand Rapids go in the books, Milwaukee's going to be the team you're going to get really used to after that. The Monsters still have to play them 9 times, and that starts up with a couple next week at the Q, and we'll have more conversation about those games next week. But looking ahead at the ones that we've got coming up, I think obviously they're all very important right now. You're 2 games above 500. You want to make sure you keep the positive momentum going and get a little bit of a cushion rather than trying to hover around 500. I think that's big thing right now. But the guys are really good about keeping things one game at a time, keeping things in perspective. Sammy Adicalio, you look at him, and now with Calvin Pickard going up, Roman Will on his way back to be a part of the Monsters goaltending tandem. But should Sammy Adicalio play tomorrow, he's another guy who could be sick of the Grand Rapids Griffins. He started 5 games in the AHL this season, 3 against Grand Rapids, 2 against Hamilton.
I'll tell you what, man, you're talking about Grand Rapids, too. Looking at the schedule here, it's so funny having 8 of them before Christmas like that, and then you don't see them again for, 3.5 months after that. So, just one of those quirks of the schedule, because I didn't see anything until late.